everyone, and welcome to day 3 of my Halloween card making series. For today's card, I am using a Sweet November stamp image called JoJo the Werewolf. If you're not familiar with the Sweet November line, it's by artist AmyR, and it is manufactured by All That Scraps. And as always, there'll be links in the description box below the video to everything. So for this image, I stamped them onto CC Designs white cardstock with Memento ink as always. And then the coloring, I was actually inspired by the way Amy colored one of her images when these stamps were released. So I decided to go with the warm gray Copic markers to color the image so that it would go more with the pattern paper I chose to use. And I've just started off with my lightest color, which was W1, always working lightest to darkest. I'm just flicking the color in from the edges to kind of give the illusion of him having, long fur on his face, and then leaving his kind of muzzle area, I guess that's what you would call it, I don't know, leaving that blank for the moment. Normally I wouldn't even have thought of that, but after seeing the way Amy had colored one of her images, I really liked it, so I'm basically just copying her. So yeah, I just go in with each shade darker and do the same thing, just flicking it back. I don't do a whole lot of blending. Once I've got the darkest color in, I just turn around and go work my way back to the lightest color. So my darkest was W7, and then I'm going back with W5 and flicking the color further in to blend, and then I'll do the same thing with the W3, and then finally using my W1 to basically blend it, but using straight strokes the entire time so that you get this nice kind of streaky look, I guess. So really quite easy to do. So once I've got his little face the way I want it, I go in and do the exact same thing with the rest of his body. This part I sped up even faster because it's the exact same thing, working from lightest to darkest, and then just lightly flicking in the colors. And then once I get to the darkest, I go back and work my way back to the lightest. Yeah, really super simple. And it just gives it a whole different look. I really like it. So normally images like this I used to shy away from because I didn't like how they would look when they were colored. They were just too, I don't know, boring. But doing it like this totally changes it up. So now for his hands, his feet, and the center of his face, I'm just using W1, 3, and then a teeny bit of W5. And that I'm just doing it, coloring it normally because I want a smoother blend on those spots to give them more definition compared to the rest of them. So yeah, just blending everything together. Really easy. These are kind of really small areas, so it's not very much work, just pretty much just dabbing the color into place. And then for his little toenails, I just lightly dabbed that W7 just to make them dark. And then I went in and did his ears with R20 in his mouth, and I didn't want it to be too pink, so I ended up going over it with the W00 just to lighten it up a bit and give it that slight gray tinge. And now I'm doing his little shirt and pants. I decided to just color them both orange, so I'm using YR04, YR07, and YR09. And same as always, starting with the lightest and working my way to the darkest, and then working my way back to blend everything together. And once I've got the image completely colored, I am going to cut them out with my paper snip scissors. That part I didn't bother filming because I can't cut and stay on camera for the life of me. So I just trim out the image, and then I wanted to add some fun flock to him to make him fuzzy because obviously he has to be fuzzy. So I'm using my Secura glue pen. It was a brand new glue pen, thank goodness I found it in my stash because my other ones were dried out. These dry out fairly, not sure how quickly because I've been using these for years and I never keep track of when exactly I open a new one, but the other two I had were completely dried out. And thankfully I had this one still in the package, so I just added in the lines in the darkest areas, and then I'm dropping on some hazy gray Stampendous Fun Flock over a coffee filter, and you just sprinkle it on, and then I press it in with my fingers into the adhesive, and then flick off the excess. So I did his face first, and then the rest of his body, just so that I'm working with wet adhesive, because I don't want it to dry before I put on the Fun Flock. So yeah, super easy to use. I always press it in really good, tap off the extra, and then using coffee filters like this, it's really easy to funnel it right back into the container so you're not wasting a ton of Fun Flock, although containers like this last forever. So that was the main image. And then for the rest of the card, I am using the Echo Park, the Apothecary Emporium 6x6 pattern papers. Boy, try saying that 3 times fast. Anyway, so I started off with these pattern papers, and they're all like just orange, black, like standard kind of Halloween colors, and then kind of a off gray sort of color. That's what kind of inspired me to color this little JoJo gray. And then I used the Martha Stewart, I think it's called the Scary Fence punch. I need to label all my punches because I don't know the names of them for the life of me. Anyway, so I used that on some black cardstock and then had adhered it to the spiderweb pattern cardstock just to liven it up a little bit, I guess. And then I wanted to add ribbon. And rather than the orange and black ribbon I was planning on using, I decided to go with this Stampin' Up! Craft taffeta ribbon just to match JoJo a little bit more. Plus I love Stampin' Up's taffeta ribbon. It is the nicest ribbon ever. So once I've got that all done, I'm going on to the sentiment, and for that I'm using my Ghostly Greetings stamp set in Memento inks. I'm just using the Tangelo and then the Tuxedo Black inks. I stamped the Fright with the Tangelo ink, and then Happy and Night with the black. And I'm just using, this is Stampin' Up! Naturals white cardstock. I don't even know if they still make it. I haven't looked at a Stampin' Up! Catalog in forever. But it went better with pattern paper than just a stark white. So once I've got the sentiment trimmed out the way I want it, I just adhere it to the card front with my trusty ATG gun. And then to kind of finish off the card, I wanted to add some brads. So I'm just using the Stampin' Up! This is from their matte pack, just to be able to place them all evenly in the 4 corners where the main image is going to go. And then this is just the We Are Memory Keepers brad piercer and setting tool. So I got those 4 in place, and then I decided I wanted to add some little black brads to the sentiment panel just to finish it off. So I get those in place, and then once those are there, I want to add JoJo to it, and rather than just gluing him down flat, I wanted him to be popped up a little bit, so I'm using these 3D foam dots. I'd shown these in a haul video not too long ago. I'd never used them before, and I love them. They're so small, so they're perfect for smaller images like this, because normally I have to cut adhesive, or I have to cut dimensionals in half so that they fit, and these I rarely have to cut. They're just perfect. So I put a few of those on them, and then pressed him into place, and that was the card front. So once I've got the card front finished, as always, I use a little bit of acid-free tape on the ribbon so that when I use my ATG it doesn't catch on the ribbon. Then I just adhere that to the card base. You can see that the little sentiment strip kind of hangs over a bit, and I did that on purpose just for a bit of visual dimension, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that is the card front. And then on the inside of the card, I just chose a couple different pattern papers from the Apothecary Emporium pack, and I tiered those together. And then I was just going to have the plain piece of the Naturals white cardstock, and then change my mind at the last second, and then wanted to add a little bit of black cardstock that I'd punch out with that Martha Stewart fence punch. So once I've got that punched out, I just trim it down a little bit and then adhere that with the ATG gun as well. So press that onto the Naturals white cardstock, adhere that to the inside, and that is all there is to it. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm planning on hopefully having a few more over the next few days. So see you guys in the next video. Bye.